You've gone toe-to-toe with Chelsea and Juventus. You talked about that in the week and the two performances. Can you afford to go toe-to-toe with City when they've scored 12 goals in 2 games?
We are going to try. I cannot say we are going to be successful in our motivations, in our desire. But we played 2 difficult matches away against 2 very good teams, Chelsea and Juventus, and we managed to get good results. And even if the good results were not in our pockets, the performances were there, the positive attitude was there. So we are going to try. But you are right, Manchester City is a very powerful team.
All right, so that is José Mourinho, head of the Manchester Derby. We'll talk about that in just a moment with Gary Breen, but the goals are already starting to roll in the Premier League. I think the first of them is at Huddersfield. Let's check in on this game. It is Huddersfield against West Ham, and Lee Stott.
It's Huddersfield 1, West Ham United 0. We've had all kinds of things happen in this game so far. 6 minutes on the clock. Alex Pritchard has managed to get the goal. He did a little 1-2 with Jonathan Hogg just outside the West Ham area, and then sort of managed to trickle a shot past Lucas Fabianski, who really probably should have done a bit better. He was really scrambling across to even try and make a save, but couldn't do it. Huddersfield Town 1, West Ham United 0.
So big win for Huddersfield Town on Monday night against Fulham, and now they lead early against such a frustratingly inconsistent West Ham side. Gary Breen is on the line as well. Gary, we were listening to José Mourinho just there ahead of the Manchester Derby. What did you make of his post-match antics, as they are with Mourinho after the win over Juventus?
No surprise. We've seen it so often. Even when he was at Chelsea, we see it quite a lot. When they, obviously, the whole furore that happened when he went to Stamford Bridge last time, he's quick to remind the Chelsea faithful how many Premier League titles. It's always Mourinho who's the narrative. Despite how these teams performing, he has to be the headline act.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with it, Dan?
There's nothing especially wrong with it. I mean, I don't think anything that he does now is going to change your opinion of him dramatically. You know, yeah, it's a bit sort of. I mean, they'd stole the game a bit. There's a lot of spotlight on him, so you're not going to sort of castigate him for lashing out or do whatever he did. But I mean, there is that element of the story is always about him.
Well, it's quite funny that it comes a fortnight after the incident in the game against Chelsea, where literally the Chelsea coach pretty much did the exact same thing that José Mourinho. Now, Mourinho was aiming it at the supporters, so it was a far greater body.
José also played that down, to be fair.
We don't look to José for consistency, though, do we? To sort of consistency of human behaviour. It's just like this is so. It's just more of the same. As I said, some people will be completely sick of it. Some people, to see the reactions around it, some people just love the theatre of it. It's not going to change your view on him, whichever way you stand.
I think if you psychoanalyse, it'd be interesting. Was it something that, did that just come to him of a moment, or was it something that he thought, kind of, I'm going to go on the pitch and I'm going to do this now, because it does kind of reinforce this kind of idea I have about myself, and it does make me kind of the star of the show. But I thought it was entertaining. We're still talking about it. I thought it was quite fun, and if he were getting goaded, which he probably was for much of the game, so what?
Yeah, let's hear what John Giles had to think about it.
Well, how childish can you be?
Well, he can be particularly childish.
Well, he can do it. He's the best. He's the best in the world at that.
Probably not in the top 10 of his childish moments.
But I don't get it. I mean, they've just had a big win. He should be delighted with himself. Get on the pitch, or not get on the pitch. Get off the pitch and go into the dressing room and see the players when they come back into the dressing room. And it's no coincidence. It's him all the time. And then they'll say, well, what's no big deal? Is that? But why do it in the first place?
Is that something that can, again, it's Mourinho, so who knows, but is that something that can annoy players, that they've just had this big win away from home, probably seen as their biggest European win since Ferguson left, and nobody's talking about that as much as they're talking about Mourinho?
They should be talking about the players and the team and the win, as you say. But you see, if you look at, you wonder, does he do it on purpose? Well, if he doesn't, he's making a good job of it. Because if you go back over the years, whether it be Chelsea or anywhere else, or going back to Sporting Lisbon and all the things that he's done.
He knows.
I mean, why is he in the papers all that much? I mean, Ferguson won things years in and years out, didn't he? Years in and out. He got into a bit of trouble for getting onto referees and that, which he was out of order, but not on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Where he was chatting or shouting or whatever. I couldn't believe it. I didn't know what he was doing actually when he came on the pitch. But I thought, what is he doing? Why? He's just had a good win, a great win. He should be hugging the players, get into the dressing room and say, well done. Instead, he has to make some show of whatever the Juventus fans said about him when he was at Inter Milan, which is, 10 years ago or something?
Yeah, it's, 8 years since he won the Champions League with them.
The fact is, he's in the papers more than anybody else.
Yeah, the thoughts of John Giles on Thursday night.
He looks great, doesn't he? He looks a lot fresher.
Just celebrated his birthday during the week.
What is he, 73 or 4?
I think a few
Might be a bit north of that, would he?
Yeah.
Is he? He looks great. He doesn't look that far off a lad who could just take off that top and just go out onto the pitch and have a kick around, like, which I have to say, Nathan, you don't today.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Oh, he's really doubling down, isn't he?
It is a massive kind of, I'm not hungover, so I'm going to take it.
I was going to say, if we're getting into a cycle of calling people out on this, Johnny, it's going to be a long winter for you.
Yeah, long winter ahead.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Wow. So, listen, it's José Mourinho. I guess we get used to it at this stage. What did you make of the game against Juventus, Dan?
Yeah, well, I was actually flicking between various games the other night, but I actually sort of made the mistake of sort of flicking off it with a few minutes to go, thinking this game is done. And then I went back after the equaliser, because I think I was flicked to watch, was it Bayern or something like that, or I was flicking around between games. But yeah, I mean, they were sort of on the ropes. I mean, it's stating the obvious to say, like, that it wasn't a classic performance, but you tried to sort of draw some meaning out of how they escaped. You know, you tried to draw some, does this actually mean something? Or was this just, the keeper had a bit of a howler, and it was just a random series of events? Or, because sometimes we have a tendency, like, you overanalyze results, or something freakish happens and you go, well, this is it, this is the platform for something special, or else they were just spectacularly lucky. I don't know. I mean, there was nothing in the game, across the piece that you think, okay, well, this is a team that's turned a corner really to some degree.
They've had a lot of those games.
But the fighting spirit, and they're still with the manager, and you can draw those meanings that they could have down tooled, and you see teams where there's question marks over the manager or the regime or whatever it might be, and people just they throw it in, and when things go against them, they throw it in. So that didn't happen, but I mean, beyond that, there was just a huge amount of luck involved with the whole thing.
That fighting spirit, Gary, has been there though for 6 months now. You think back to the last Manchester derby when they were 2-0 down. City are going to win the league in the Manchester derby, and United come out in the second half and produce this performance from nowhere. Like, when you're analysing this, do you not just look at the first 45 minutes as to how they were set up by their manager, and if you don't see any discernible style in that, well, maybe that is just luck that Dan's talking about that's coming to the fore in the second half?
I think when that result comes in and you see that United win at Juventus, that's a massive statement as such. But you're quite right to dissect it and say that it's not as if we're thinking that this is Manchester United team about to propel themselves up the Premier League. The same issues remain, that they've got star players who can perform moments of magic, but it's the lack of consistency. And again, that back four that you just can't really trust. And if you think about Mourinho putting a game plan together to go up against City tomorrow, I'm just not convinced he can rely on that defensive unit to invite City onto him. So I won't be surprised if he goes after him tomorrow.
Does the lack of consistency in performance come from the lack of consistency in team selection? Because they were talking about this in the Keith Andrews show on Thursday. There's not one line of that United team, if they're playing a 4-3-3, or even for tomorrow's game, you could say with a real degree of certainty which four are going to be in the defence, which three are going to be in midfield, which three are going to be in attack. He still doesn't seem to have any clue as to what his best team is.
Yeah, but ultimately then you've got to look at your players, that they're not really executing what he wants them to do. And that's a different argument. You can say whether or not these are good enough to play for a José Mourinho team. Also, whether or not they're good enough to play for Manchester United in terms of where they expect to be. But it's a difficulty one. We talked about it. When you're struggling for wins, for performances, you are going to chop and change no matter what level you're talking. We talked about Sean Dyche doing something similar at Burnley. Can't find the solution, and you're continually looking for it. And I think that's a problem that Mourinho has. When I think about his title-winning teams at Chelsea, Real Madrid, there was a consistency about his selection, but that was based on the fact that he knew he had a good defensive structure that he can trust, and he just doesn't have that at the moment.
Couple of goals in the Premier League. First of them, St James's Park, Newcastle against Bournemouth. Stephen Goldsmith.
Newcastle 1, Bournemouth 0, and the home side take the lead after Rondon fires them in front. It was a good run down the right-hand side by DeAndre Yedlin. His cut back into the box was met by Rondon. His initial shot was saved, but he put the rebound in. Newcastle 1, Bournemouth 0.
I think that's first goal of the season for Solomon Rondon. Rafa Benitez was just talking about him yesterday, that he feels he is the one guy who can get them the goals to survive, and he's made an instant impact at St James's Park today. Also a goal at St Mary's between Southampton and Watford. Andrew Cheal.
Southampton 1, Watford 0. The goal completely against the run of play. Watford have been all over the Saints with 3 decent chances in the first few minutes, but Saints have the lead thanks to Manolo Gabbiadini. Watford's defence made a complete dog's dinner of clearing the corner. 2 defenders had a chance to get it away, completely failed to do so. Gabbiadini free, 8 yards out, couldn't miss, slid it under the goalkeeper. It's Southampton 1, Watford 0.
No Shane Long in the squad for Southampton this afternoon. We'll see if Andrew or one of our reporters can find out if there's some sort of an injury surrounding
Obafemi in the squad?
Shane Long. No, he's not in the match day squad. I'll just double check, but I'm fairly sure he's Obafemi is a sub.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Michael Obafemi is he is the very last name down there.
That's interesting, okay.
So no Shane Long though. And looking at that Burnley team, let's go and see what's going on between Leicester and Burnley. Kevin Long starting for Burnley, but both Robbie Brady and Jeff Hendrick among the substitutes. Watching Leicester Burnley, it's Derek Clark.
Leicester City 0, Burnley 0 in the opening stages of this game. Leicester have had the better of the play, it has to be said. Albrighton had an inviting cross after 6 minutes, but there was no takers, and then there was a chance for Wilfred Ndidi. Well, it wasn't a chance, it was around about a 25-yard strike that had Joe Hart stretching, and he tipped it around the post for a corner kick. All Leicester so far in this emotional game here is Leicester City 0, Burnley 0.
What's your sense on what's happening with Michael Obafemi down?
Well,
will he make the final 25-26 man squad?
I'm not in the mood for another eligibility saga, but because it must be said that
eligibility update with Dan McDonnell. Let's see it becoming a weekly slot.
Yeah, just like pictures of like family trees in the intro to the segment. In fairness, when it was raised on when he was named in the squad the other day, Martin Neal said he'd spoken to Tom Mohan, the under-19 manager, and he had no concerns about Obafemi at all. It was actually Jimmy Dunn, who's the Dundalk lad, but Michael O'Neill was trying to get him for the Northern Ireland squad, and he seems to have been called up off the back of that. I think he probably will include Obafemi in the final 25-26. It's just that Mark Hughes did say yesterday he wouldn't be so sure that he might be committed to play for Ireland. So I don't know. Is that it could have been a
it could drag on for another.
It could have just been a
keep us in a job.
It could have just been a direct question from someone saying, there's a suggestion, and the manager's on the spot. He's panicking. I better not commit just in case there's an issue here. He may not. Mark Hughes probably has other things in his mind at the moment rather than Obafemi's international future, to be fair. So but anyway, I think he might. I think there's a fair chance he might get the invite in. I mean, why? I know we've seen this before. People named in the provisional and not getting in, but I think to get a young striker in around the squad, it seems like a bit of a no-brainer.
He's a player I'm fascinated by because we just have nothing in that regard at all. So I haven't seen him play, I have to say.
Well, he came off the bench wasn't it, against Spurs last year, and he had that unbelievable chance. He came off the final 6-7 minutes, and what would have been his first touch of the ball comes across 10 yards out, goal gaping, and he completely missed the ball.
The important thing was he was in the position to score.
I watched the package the other day of his goals for the Southampton under-23 side this year.
The YouTube video is good?
Yeah, and they look good, but of course every package of anyone scoring goals, and I'm sure you could put one of Usain Bolt's 2 goals put together and make it look decent, but he actually does offer real pace. Again, you're going off these sort of clips, but even for the Irish under-19s when he's been involved as well, although fleetingly he wasn't involved in the most recent squad due to illness, but I think there is a sort of an issue with speed and pace in the Irish squad at the moment, so I think that is something they're trying to address. But I think the fact that he's dual qualified, I think there's no doubt that that's also hastened his call up here.
Yeah, not just dual qualified,
treble qualified,
treble qualified. And Gary, he's an interesting case in that he was born in Dublin to Nigerian parents, but he grew up in London, and initially when he made that appearance against Spurs, the talk was that he was thinking of declaring for Nigeria, that he'd very much
his mother or someone
grown up in a Nigerian household, and that is where, and again, if that's what he wants to do, that's fine. It does bring again to the fore maybe the questions of Martin O'Neill. Should he have capped Declan Rice against Moldova? Should he have tied him down so he had no choice to get out of this mess? Where do you stand on this, Gary? Because there's going to be pressure now on Martin O'Neill of, well, he should have stuck him on for a minute at the end of the game against Denmark and Aarhus next week, and then we don't have to worry about this for the next 3 years. Surely that's not how we want to go about business.
No, I don't like that. And I've seen a lot of people saying you can't give people caps before they have actually earned them as such. And I know hindsight's a wonderful thing, certainly with Declan Rice, but it's a difficult precedent to set there that young players are getting them and you may never see them again as such. So I think it devalues the cap a little bit. You've got to earn that as such. But I can understand the criticism Michael O'Neill is getting as such. Martin O'Neill. But he's exciting, this Obafemi, and you guys said about his pace, and I think Mark Hughes has even said it, that they're hoping to get him in and around the squad to give him a spark that they need, such as the problems they've had scoring goals. So even if he's in and around a Premier League squad at such a young age, it does bode well.
And at an international level as well, where I guess things, it feels, have got stale with this Irish squad. To get somebody in at 18 that maybe, as you say, has electric pace, it's just something about him that all of a sudden everybody's there going, well, maybe this is the guy. Maybe this is the guy for the next 5-6 years that gives us something to be excited about, not just as supporters, but as players as well.
Yeah, well, everybody loves new players though as well. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You know, everyone loves. It's like football fans love a new signing over the solid guy who's been there for 3 or 4 years. Like, no,
Harry Arter went from being
new.
Andrea Pirlo to a poor man's Glenn Whelan the second he actually played an Irish game.
There's always a debate over some player. Like it was Anthony Pilkington 5 or 6 years ago. You know, it sort of goes cyclically. But I mean, the Obafemi case is an interesting one because his background is slightly different. But this is going to be a new kind of eligibility debate going forward. Like I was watching the Ireland under-17s the other day against England, and like there was 2 guys in the Irish squad who had a sort of Nigerian heritage, you know, and it's a slightly different type of debate because in some degrees, in some
flipped.
They are like the equivalent of the Irish community in England back in the day, you know, and they sort of, and now Obafemi actually moved to London as well as a child, so he's even more complex, whereas, you know, some of the guys who've grown up here but they mightn't be integrated in the way that they might, you know, that maybe the thing should be. And so do you lean on them as much if they have this pull towards Nigeria, or do you play the whole, no, you were brought up here, you play your football here, you play for us type thing? So there is an element of the shoes on the other foot a small bit here, and
that's going to be fascinating going forward, because as you look at all the League of Ireland teams underage, and they all will have like a couple of players with that sort of a background, 1 or 2 in all parts of the country, and it's so great to see. And we'll say this will kind of put in the spotlight how that sort of community has integrated in Ireland, because what will these kids feel like when they grow up? Because you have a lot of the Educate Together schools, which I think are wonderful, like, and I think an awful lot of like Irish parents, so to speak, they want to send their kids to them because their kids will be more rounded, and the likes of him and those kids coming through, what do they actually feel? Do they feel like what their parents kind of feel? Because I would feel probably a lot of those Nigerians who come over here, they're not properly integrated, we'll say, into Irish society. Like their mates may be more like guys who came over from Nigeria more than their Irish neighbour, for example. So it's going to be fascinating. But what Dan was saying about 2 players during the week, that's going to be the future, I think, of our sort of eligibility updates from Dan, rather than the Irish guys in London.
Well, there was also a guy born in Dublin sent off for England as well the other day. And this is just like, and there was a guy playing in midfield who's played for both countries in recent years.
Who was he playing for this time?
He was playing for Ireland this time. He plays for Man City, having previously been capped for both countries.
Is that 17s then?
Yeah, even just the profile of the English team as well, they seem to be chopping and changing around a bit. So it is sort of the new way of doing things international football wise, that unfortunately, like, players are just now, almost today's 16, 17-year-old, if they have the option, is used to shopping around a bit. It's sort of it's a cultural thing that they're like, yeah, this is what we do. But
Johnny's right, it is going to be fascinating over the next 10, 15, 20 years when these players have been asked, well, why aren't you declaring for Ireland? Why are you declaring for Nigeria or whatever country? And they're talking about, well, even though I grew up in Ireland, I never felt properly part of the Irish community. I never felt as though I was fully integrated. I still felt like I was a bit of an outsider.
I think it'll be the kids more so than the parents. I think it'll be the kids more so than the parents. That's where the Rice situation comes in, because he's obviously under compelling pressure from his parents and obviously the grandparents situation. Yeah,
there's also 1 or 2 cases where actually getting citizenship or a passport is a slight problem as well too. So there is people involved with the underage leagues here who are in that situation as well. So it's a sort of it's a layered subject, you know. There's sort of layers to the whole thing, but it is something we're going to become more increasingly accustomed to. But in the short term, as much as Martin O'Neill was saying the other day that he doesn't want to, and I personally don't agree with the view that you can say now he should have played Declan Rice against Moldova. No. I just find that it's complete aftertime, and it's
also unfair on the player.
Also I think every player now knows the rules as well. So Rice would have known what's it about. In fairness, Obafemi will know what it's about now as well too. Like if he's brought to Denmark and he's on the plane, he's going to be sitting on the plane knowing that he is in a situation here where if he turns around to you 10 minutes to go and says, "Come on," you're going to say no. Like they know the situation, and I think Rice, the month prior to Moldova, he played 1 minute of Premier League football. I don't recall anyone at the time saying he should be involved. I do accept the point that it is the manager's job to identify talent that are going to be very good, and that sometimes I think O'Neill, you could say he's a bit reactive, to whether club managers are picking players, but then he's an option for Ireland. I still think there's a sense that he should be identifying stuff, but just in pure isolation that this Moldova game has become this massive stake. Like if Ireland had dropped points against Moldova, O'Neill would have been sacked, so I don't think at that point in the middle of a double header when we're playing Moldova and Wales, that subject should be in the mind. That I made the point that with 10 minutes to go in that game, when the game was over, Sean Maguire was brought on for a standing ovation. The crowd went nuts. Sean Maguire. Imagine if Sean Maguire had been told, actually, do you know what? No, we're not bringing you on today, but we're just going to bring on Declan Rice, who at the time had made a handful of Premier League appearances. Can you imagine the response from Maguire, from the people who followed Maguire's career and so on? That doesn't sit well. I wouldn't have looked for it, and I just don't think that's a particularly fair line of attack, I have to say.
Good news for you, Gary, over there in London, because England are going to win the Rugby World Cup. They're leading the All Blacks 15-0 with just 26
Gary
minutes
not Irish,
gone.
no?
Yeah, but he's
exactly. How is it good for me?
Gary has
get
set
to
out
enjoy this over the next year now as the hype builds with England towards the World Cup. It's going to be an absolute overdrive.
Gary has set out his stall. He's Irish. That's it.
I understand that, Johnny. It's fine. But they lead with New Zealand by.
He was winding him off, Gary.
Does he actually care about rugby, by the way?
Do you care about rugby, Gary?
I like watching international rugby in terms of, I don't understand the rules as such, but for a spectacle, it's brilliant to watch.
I'd be in a similar boat.
England 15, New Zealand 0 is the latest score with 27 minutes gone. The other scores in today's international: Scotland leading Fiji 21-17 after 44 minutes, and it is Georgia 17, Italy 28 in the closing stages of that game. Let's see what's happening between Huddersfield and West Ham. Lee Stott.
Huddersfield 1, West Ham United 0. It's been a game played at a frantic pace with a number of chances and knocks for both teams. Steve Mounier had a good opportunity to double Huddersfield's advantage, but his powerful shot from the right was well blocked by Lucas Fabianski. Florent Haderjanai needed a couple of minutes of treatment after ending up in a heap and clashing with Felipe Anderson, while the visitors' danger man Marko Arnautovic also had some help from the physio, but he too is continuing on. It's Huddersfield Town 1, West Ham United 0.
Yeah, that'd be a big win for Huddersfield if they can hang on, but there's still a long way to go. The latest scores in the Premier League then, as you hear, Huddersfield 1-0 up against West Ham. Southampton leading Watford by 1-0. Newcastle 1 up against Bournemouth and still scoreless in the game between Leicester and Burnley. Earlier today, Cardiff beat Brighton 2-1. The late game is between Crystal Palace and Spurs. In the Championship, Swansea are 1-0 up away against Bolton. Millwall leading Norwich 1-0 at Carrow Road. Ipswich 2-1 up away against Reading. Birmingham lead Hull by 1-0. All the rest of the games are still scoreless. The late game in the Championship is between West Brom and Leeds United. To move on then and to finish up, I guess, on the eligibility and what we're going to be talking about over the next while, because Declan Rice has done an interview.
Yes, he did an interview
in the last 48 hours or so.
It was in the London Times. It was obviously, I think it was in the Metro as well. I think it was a West Ham local community initiative thing. So I would suspect strongly it was a one question, maybe two question max rule applied. And Declan Rice basically said, it's a hard decision to make. Martin O'Neill came to my house and was brilliant. Gareth Southgate was great with me. This is a very hard thing to do. I think there's a few other details in the piece about how, I think we actually sort of knew this as well, that the dad is very much leaning the Irish way and has the jerseys framed in the house. And there's a few lines about, what it meant to him to get the under 15, under 16 cap around the time that his grandparents were sort of in the last days of their lives almost. I don't know, we're now at the stage where we're trying to cynically look for intentions. Is this trying to smooth the path in one particular direction?
Why hasn't he decided?
Is he trying to say, well, I don't think, I think it is probably tied in with the contract, and the only thing where there's been a small bit of consistency was that the decision would probably be towards the end of the year, either way. And I don't think Rice can be wholly blamed for stories that have come out in the last while that have suggested a decision is imminent. He's made it, which I think have turned out to be incorrect. So
how long does it take though?
He's only 19.
Yeah, but like, he's probably had a couple of months now.
Yeah, well, the West Ham contract thing isn't resolved, and he did suggest in the interview that the contract thing, he's very strong about wanting to stay at West Ham. There's a game going on. I mean, his agents have clearly been involved in terms of, every second week he's linked with a different club, and I would say that's all part of the wider picture here. So I don't know.
Is it a case of when he gets his contract, then he's right? Yeah, I'm playing for England.
Well, I don't know. The argument would be, is he using potential England status to get an England-sized contract? And then he makes a decision which could go either way.
And he flips it.
And then he flips it. He goes, you paid me the money, now I'm going back.
He screws England, he screws West Ham.
Yeah, it doesn't look good, obviously, because he's been in there. So you think once you've been there, it's an easier decision to make to stay there. The response during the week seems to be, I actually think people are a bit tired of it.
Yeah.
The interview didn't necessarily draw a massive reaction, like other than naturally, we're following the news cycle.
It drags on.
But there was an element of, okay, we said something great. Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
So there is a small fatigue about it. I think actually mentally, a lot of people say involved with Irish football and maybe Irish fans and people around it have almost conceded that he's gone in a certain way, so that if he ends up coming back, it might be some kind of surprise. Yeah. I don't think people are on tenterhooks waiting for his decision, because I think people have gone through like the stages of that grief of him departing effectively.
Yeah. Gary, like we know where you stand in terms of Irish football, and it was only ever going to be one way for you, but like Mark O'Toole is the scout over what's his official title?
He's one of the player identification
that
titles and
King
stuff.
Is part of.
He's Ireland's scout basically around the London, England area.
We've tried to get him on the show before, and I guess he probably doesn't feel it's his place maybe to go into the exact details. But how do you feel, Gary, of the FAI going, and they're quite good at this, of identifying players who are eligible at 15, 16 and saying to them, come over, see if you like it. There's no commitment until you play a competitive senior game. And then we get them for 4 or 5 years at underage level, and somehow we try and convince them that this is the way forward, even if they're not that committed when they are 15, 16.
Listen, just your word in there. I know I'm being pedantic, but you've got to convince them, come over, have a look. It's a nonsense for me in terms of that. I don't like it. I understand this is the way it is in terms of being competitive. You've got to fight for these players as such, but it's not something I particularly enjoy. I agree with Johnny there. I know it's a big decision. Irrelevant that he's 19. Why, if that's the case, why didn't he make the decision when he was 18? He was happy to come and play for Ireland then. I think he's a fabulous player. I've liked him not only for his ability, but I like the way he conducted himself off the pitch in terms of driving himself forward, making the best of his ability, which he certainly has done. But I just don't like it. I don't like the fact that you can come over and flippantly put on the green jersey and then cast it aside just months later for what ultimately is a career move. You're talking about having an improved contract. It doesn't sit well with me. That's my personal opinion. I know that might be a dated one, but I'm never going to change it.
All right, we're going to take a very quick break.
Football on Off the Ball.
In association with the faster than ever Boyle Sports app. Multiples made easy and personalised content on every sport. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
Bobby's Late Breakfast.
This Sunday, music legends will pack the studio. Razorlight join me for a chat and a couple of songs. Judy Zook will tell me about the life and times of a famous singer. Aside from all the great music, Chef Neville Maguire will bring some delicious fish for my breakfast. And the million-selling crime novelist Peter James will chat about making crime pay.
Bobby's Late Breakfast.
Join me this Sunday from 9 for live music, live food and a bit of crack.
On News Talk.
Be safe when driving this winter. Make sure your vision is crystal clear at all times by defogging and de-icing when necessary. Always keep a screen scraper and de-icer at hand to keep your mirrors and windows clear. Motor Tips, brought to you by Volkswagen Service. Book a service online at volkswagen.ie.
The wait is over. The shopping event of the year is here. Get Black Friday discounts today at Harvey Norman. Get the Akai 65-inch UHD Smart TV for just €649, saving you €350. Or get the Dyson Kinetic Big Ball Vacuum for just €349, saving you €50. And at Harvey Norman, we've matched all competitors' Black Friday prices, so no need to shop around. Don't wait. Now's the time to buy, in store or online. Harvey Norman Black Friday sale.
It's time for change in banking culture in Ireland. That's why the banking industry is seeking your help in shaping a new, independent Irish banking culture board. We need your views on what it takes to create a better banking sector for those that matter most, our customers. Please visit yoursaybankingculture.ie by December 10th. This message is supported by the Irish Banking Culture Board Establishment Office.
At Lidl, we listen to your feedback, and we've introduced over 300 new products to our range this year. Like Brennan's bread, only $1.50. Cadbury's Dairy Milk Chocolate, just $1.29. And Colgate toothpaste, an amazing $1.39. Lidl, more for you.
You want a phone, and you want it now. So what are you waiting for? Christmas? Your birthday? Black Friday? Why? Check out Carphone Warehouse, the home of the networks, for Black Friday prices right now. Get the Samsung Galaxy S8 or Huawei P20 free on a €40 a month plan when you switch to Vodafone, Ireland's #1 network, saving you up to €100, but only at Carphone Warehouse. Any network, any phone, any plan. Only Carphone Warehouse. T's and C's apply. Offer subject to a 24-month contract.
Passport, please.
Sure, here you go.
Looks like your bag's over the size limit. That's going to cost you extra. For the love of...
Your Zalando shopping cart doesn't have any limits. Plus, delivery and returns are free of charge. Get 20% off now on your favourite apparel, shoes and accessories. T's and C's apply. Only at Zalando. Fashion Unlimited.
Gather the family and your loved ones around a beautiful dining set this Christmas with massive choice and savings at the final weekend of the Harvey Norman Dining Sale. Last chance to save on a great selection of marble, glass, ceramic and wooden dining furniture. Up to 50% off dining sets and tables from as low as €140. Buy now and get delivered in time for Christmas. Shop in store and online. But hurry, the Harvey Norman Dining Sale must end Sunday. Don't miss out.
Go! At Volkswagen, we want to drive you into the future. With technology upgrades available across our 191 range and PCP finance from 0% APR. Drive your future forward at the 191 Open event at your local Volkswagen retailer from November 1st to the 10th.
Finance is made under a hire purchase agreement and subject to lending criteria. Deposit required. Terms and conditions apply. Purchase contributions only on finance contracts. Volkswagen Bank GmbH Branch Ireland is authorised by the Federal Financial Supervisory Authority in Germany and regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland for conduct of business rules. Visit Volkswagen.ie for further information.
Football on Off the Ball.
In association with the faster than ever Boyle Sports app. Multiples made easy and personalised content on every sport. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
Danny Alves has said that you were his best ever coach, and to quote him, he said it was better than sex, his experience of you coaching him. I'm just wondering what you thought of that.
I prefer the sex. By far.
Wow. That's what Gary Breen said after working with McCarthy.
Yeah. Don't put that picture in our mind, for God's sake.
Well, it's in your mind now, Gary.
I'll try and have to shake that off. To shiver that.
That is quite a compliment for Pep Guardiola.
It is. I mean, the reporter went in there with his headline in mind.
Yeah.
He had his clip. He goes, right, I'm going to go for this.
Not sure about Danny Alves' conquest down the years, what they made of it, but yeah. You can only speculate.
You can only speculate.
And the tabloids will probably find them, track them down, and say, what did you make of Danny Alves' comment?
Maybe at times you're better off not speculating, John.
Well, this is it. It's a better image than Mick McCarthy.
Well, with you. Let's get the latest from St James's Park. Newcastle against Bournemouth. Another goal. Stephen Goldsmith.
Newcastle 2, Bournemouth 0, and Rondon has his second of the game and Newcastle's second of the game. It was a beautiful ball put in on the left-hand side by Kennedy. Rondon met it with a header and powered it past Begovic on the left-hand side. Newcastle 2, Bournemouth 0.
I like when we have a reporter from the area.
Yeah, he has the authentic feel.
He's a Geordie.
Gives it proper. Andrew Cheal is at Southampton against Watford. Let's listen deeply to Andrew's voice.
Southampton 1, Watford 0 it remains, and Southampton's lead given to them by Manolo Gabbiadini. They could have doubled it. Cedric with an excellent cross, just too high for Redmond to the far post, and a minute or so ago Hurt with a header from 15 yards out, just wide of the post. Watford, though, much the sharper team in attack, believe it or not. Having said all that, Deulofeu for the second time in the match, identical break, identical shot, identical save by the goalkeeper. Southampton 1, Watford 0.
It feels appropriate, his accent for Southampton.
Do you recognise all the voices now? You throw to them so often. Do you recognise that?
Whoa.
If I was like, okay, we didn't
You're
throw
not
the name.
going to do a little test on me now, are you?
We didn't throw the name there. It's like, come on, who's that?
Oh, I don't know.
Would you recognise Andrew Cheal?
Stephen Goldsmith, I would.
See.
But you see,
I used to love as a kid when the Sunday game was on and they'd go to the games in Ulster and they had a commentator with the most hardcore Ulster accent, and he was a great commentator and he was really excitable. I think he was a former player. If anyone listening can remember his name, this is years and years ago now, but he'd always, like, Ulster football was the dregs at the time. This is probably like the late 80s or whatever. But this guy had, when you went to a game in Ulster, you got a proper, BBC Ulster accent, and he was, you knew where he was from.
let's see what's happening between Leicester and Burnley. I don't know who the reporter is. They just deleted the bloody name.
Half-time at an emotional King Power Stadium. It's Leicester City 0, Burnley 0, but the Foxes really should be out of sight here. Jamie Vardy had a shot cleared off the line after Joe Hart had initially fumbled across. Rashid Ghazal has also had a bullet header cannon off the crossbar, while Damari Gray has missed arguably the best chance for the Foxes when clean through on goal, only to be denied by the Burnley goalkeeper Joe Hart. At half-time it's Leicester 0, Burnley 0.
Derek Clark's had to travel a bit.
Derek Clark, yeah.
You have to leave Scotland for economic reasons. There's only so much Celtic and Rangers you can cover.
I don't know, it's like it's the hidden story behind the
reporters, like the life these guys have led. We know nothing about them except their 30 seconds.
They just give us 30 seconds, no frills, that's it.
Yeah. Johnny,
there's a story there.
Investigation. Hello to Michael Curley, who's watching us on YouTube. You can watch us live every Saturday on all our social channels. Michael is in Bangkok. It's 7 hours ahead, is it, in Bangkok?
Maybe 8 hours,
so
I think, is it?
It's about 1 or 2 in the morning.
He's not from Roscommon and he's in Cambodia for years.
Don't comment on this, Johnny, but I'm just thinking, Michael, you're in Bangkok. It's 1 in the morning on a Saturday night. There's got to be better things you can do.
What are you
watching us on YouTube?
What's that supposed to mean?
Maybe you just need to stay in and stay away from those things.
Yeah, maybe this is the best possible option.
I've been to Bangkok and I did all the cultural stuff. Yeah.
A lot of people have been to Bangkok and say the same thing, John.
And I did.
And the fella just before me was from Roscommon. Who could have predicted?
Ballyhaunis, I think. You probably know him, Nathan.
Why do you keep on about this guy? Who cares? Tell us about actual Irish players and actual Irish prospects, says Barry in Mail.
Well, he's an Irish player. You know, he's Irish and he's a player, and he is a prospect. He's one of our most exciting prospects, without a shadow of a doubt. And we've so little, we have to cling to something.
There is a point, though, I sort of made this point in the piece during the week, that Michael O'Neill did speak about Jimmy Dunn and making the point, sort of dry humour, suggesting when he played 15 minutes for the under-21s, it must have been the best 15 minutes he ever played to get called into the next senior squad off the back of it. Obafemi, okay, he missed the last under-19 squad. Now, I know these lads are both very young. I'm not even sure if I advocate calling them into a senior squad, but like Troy Parrott and Adam Ida at Spurs and Norwich, that it does seem that the dual qualified players have got a chance of getting fast-tracked a lot quicker. So for some of the other players, some of the homegrown players, I mean, Jimmy Dunn is actually homegrown. He's from like Blackrock and County Louth, you know, but the threat of Northern Ireland, all of a sudden he's now in the senior squad. I mean, I'm sure there must be players there who just don't have that option there. I'm thinking, well, what's going on here? You know, and that is actually.
Do I need to leak a story to the papers?
By the way,
I could possibly.
My granddad is from
Senegal.
My granddad once went to Bangkok. And
I told you not to go there, Nathan.
But like there is a point there that it can sort of sour people as well too. You know, that you sort of need to just be careful in terms of how you balance these things. And there's no doubt that Michael O'Neill was saying, I think he said Jimmy Dunn owed him 2 cappuccinos because he had been speaking to him. That story was 100% legit. And Jimmy Dunn clearly went for a meeting because he was up for it. And suddenly within a month's time, he's now in a 21s being capped and then straight away into a senior squad. So it does sort of encourage a bit of cynicism, doesn't it?
Yeah, the All Blacks have scored a try. They've got it back to 15-7. They're in injury time at the end of the first half, and now they have a penalty for Bowden Barrett, which would mean it would end. England 15, New Zealand 10.
The All Blacks do plenty of that as well, don't they? Don't they pluck players from kind of the smaller nations in that region around and basically fast track them into being a Kiwi?
Yeah, they get them from the Pacific Islands.
All of rugby does it.
Yeah.
If we're getting into eligibility in rugby,
that's not even
exactly
for quite a while.
Gary's latent anti-rugby bias is coming out.
Yeah.
Somebody literally texted in saying, "Does Dan like rugby?"
Does Dan
this
like
is
rugby?
like they're judging you now in your answer.
No. But I mean, each to their own. I wouldn't be a massive rugby fan.
You by each to your own, you mean you're not one of these people who feels the need to compare.
Like, what's the point? I ended up going to Ireland-New Zealand rugby game 2 years ago. My brother had a spare ticket.
You're like myself, Dan. Yeah, I don't like rugby. The All Blacks are in town. I'll go to that.
I actually felt dreadful being
You're
at
a
it.
disgrace, Dan.
I felt it's like these people who go to the All Ireland and then people who've like gone to league games during the year can't go. I actually offered it to several people I know.
That's terrible as well.
You know, I've nothing against rugby. Several of my best friends are rugby fans, and I offered them all tickets, and they were sorted in various ways. So I went along. It was enjoyable, but it just wouldn't be for me.
It's all right.
You have young kids. Would you like them playing rugby?
If they wanted to play, they could play, but I'm not actively encouraging them to go play rugby.
Would you discourage them?
No. Well, I wouldn't really discourage them from playing any sport. Why would you?
Well,
for the danger of playing rugby?
The violence.
A sport that really has no idea where it's going in terms of like the physicality it has become and concussion and all that. I think I'd be very wary.
Well, my oldest is 6, and I would say by the time, say, he's 16, rugby will be a vastly different game.
How so?
In terms of, well, just the constant rule changes. Look at the tackle changes that they're doing at the moment. That, like, because of the concussion, because of the amount of injuries, that it's going to be a less violent game, I would imagine, in 10 years' time.
It needs to happen.
Is he liable to end up in a rugby type school? Like, this is the thing that I mean, there's certainly a lot of people our age, rugby wasn't even around in terms of when you were in school. It just wasn't there.
No.
You know. So this is the.
Oh, it's a good question. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, sorry.
So now my kid is going to go to secondary school. He'll be the only one who hasn't played rugby, and he's going to be getting battered.
Sorry for dropping this on you.
Wow,
You become a social acolyte, social pariah, even rather.
This has turned into the Dadcast all of a sudden, which is available and is definitely well worth a.
So I believe, yeah.
Half time at St Mary's, Southampton against Watford. Andrew Shield.
Southampton 1, Watford 0. Manolo Gabbiadini capitalising on poor Watford defending from the corner to put Saints ahead midway through the first half. Southampton's Armstrong also had a shot saved by the Watford keeper Foster. Watford could have been 2 up before Manolo's goal. Success going close, and Deulofeu on 2 identical breaks brought 2 identical saves from the Southampton goalkeeper McCarthy. Overall, Watford the better side, but Saints lead 1-0.
That'd be a huge win for Mark Hughes, Gary. He's under increasing pressure. They just can't score goals. They've got a huge amount of strikers. I dread to think how much money they're on between the 3-4 of them that are at the club, but they don't score any goals. They don't even create a huge amount of chances. Mark Hughes did a okay job at Stoke, I guess. Well, I say okay. He did better than Tony Pulis did in terms of league finishing positions in the Premier League. Is Hughes someone you look at as a good Premier League manager, or is he somebody who's got a bit lucky along the way?
No, I think he had a good start, didn't he? Certainly at Stoke, and 3 top 8 finishes, something like that. But it went badly for him. And if you speak to Stoke fans now, they're adamant that he's the reason they're in the Championship as such. Now he's gone to Southampton. Les Reed, the vice chairman, who would have been the guy who recruits, has been sacked this week. And I think the problems that Southampton have more than anything is that their latest batch of recruitment hasn't been good enough. Those players that previously, when they have been able to sell them on for big money, were good players. I don't think this lot are. And I think he's under huge pressure, Mark Hughes, now, because he doesn't seem to change his philosophy when he goes up against the big boys. He seems to think he can go toe-to-toe, and invariably he loses all those games against the top 6 by 3 or more goals. So this is a massive game for him, but it is for all the teams down the bottom. 4 of the bottom 5 are playing at home today. Cardiff have obviously won, so that puts the pressure. And up to this point, they're all leading. So it's how many of them can see those wins out?
It's incredible how quickly it has flipped at Southampton, because it's probably only 2-3 years since we'd sit here on a Saturday and they were the shining example for all medium-sized clubs in terms of how they sold players for the best possible price. They reinvested it into their academy. They had a constant supply of young players coming through. They seem to have a real attraction for players even in and around London who would travel down knowing that Southampton was a good place to start their career. They were very much cutting edge, I think, in terms of the use of technology and how they could get the best out of young players. And as you say, Les Reed, I think, was a real driving force behind that. And now it's all just falling apart.
Yeah, but ultimately, not just the players, their recruitment for managers was fantastic. Pochettino brought him in, Koeman, they then went on to bigger and better things. And the problem you have is that it's very difficult to keep replacing quality managers, quality players. And they've been able to do it. And last year, I thought they were sleepwalking to relegation. They just about survived, but they don't look like they're a squad with a makeup to be able to do that over a full length of a season. So I think they've got some real problems there.
Let's see what's going on between Huddersfield and West Ham. It's half-time. Lee Stott.
It's Huddersfield 1, West Ham 0. Alex Pritchard's early shot trickled past Lucas Fabianski and into the net. Huddersfield twice hit the frame and the goal. The Steve Mounier header touched onto the bar, and a Philip Billing shot from wide left whacking the post. Wing-back Chris Lerver was stretching off with a shoulder injury just before the break, replaced by Eric Durm. The best chance for the visitors, Marko Arnautovic having his shot touched around the post when one-on-one with Town goalkeeper Jonas Losel. Half-time, Huddersfield 1, West Ham 0.
In the rugby, it is England 15, New Zealand 10 at half-time at Twickenham. Italy have beaten Georgia 28-17. Scotland 35-17 up against Fiji. These score updates are sound recordings. I thought they were all live. My illusions have been shattered. My life forever changed. Did we say they weren't live? They could be live.
Yeah, sometimes they might be live.
Sometimes they are live.
This is the old story about if you didn't tell me about it, were you lying? You just chose not to tell me. Is that a lie?
There's lots of things happen in this show and on radio that aren't true, and maybe are deceiving our listeners from time to time.
What's like some of Johnny's stories about going to Cambodia?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's parts left out that maybe for your better enjoyment of the show, we just choose not to tell you.
That Cambodia story was all true. Yeah, genuinely, we're from Roscommon.
Okay, no, we all believe you, Johnny. But the more you talk, and the more you're digging yourself a hole. Gary, we're going to let you go.
Cool.
We'll talk to you very soon.
Enjoy the rugby, Gary.
Yeah.
Go around and see how England are doing, Nathan?
Yeah, exactly. You enjoy it. Get on that white jersey.
Never, ever. Cheers, lads. Good luck.
Good luck. Gary Breen there, as always, with us every Saturday afternoon. The other half times, they're just going. It is Newcastle 2, Bournemouth 1. So Bournemouth have got a goal back up at St James's Park just before half time. Jefferson Lerma with the goal right on stroke of half time up there at St James's Park, and it's scoreless in the match between Leicester and Burnley. Cardiff beat Brighton 2-1. Palace against Spurs is the late game a little bit later this afternoon. Don't forget that Off the Ball is on the road again, and to celebrate Science Week we're going to be at the Drury Buildings in Dublin at lunchtime next Friday. We're going to be talking about weight cuts in sport. We're going to be delving into the murky world of ice baths, saunas and trim diets with a panel as we discuss the long-term effects of making weight on athletes' bodies. Andy Lee, Niall Moyna, Dr. Jennifer Pugh and Dr. Richard Downey are going to join myself on the day, and we'd love you to come along as well. Just head over to offtheball.com/events to get your hands on tickets.
Sounds interesting, actually. Dr. Jennifer Pugh just took over from Adrian McGoldrick, the Turf Club senior, and we had done O'Brien on here maybe 2-3 Fridays ago, and so that was at about 3 o'clock on a Friday. He hadn't eaten anything since Wednesday night. All he'd had was like half a can of Red Bull and a little bit of Lucozade, and he's champion jockey, and this is just how he lives. And I was like,
so in 36 hours
he basically had not eaten
food,
and he's at the top of his profession. So you can imagine like a sports player trying to do anything else who just hasn't been eating for like 2 days or whatever, and because he's just too tall.
Well, that's what we're going to get into as well, because part of that is, so Donnacha O'Brien is, as you say, he is champion jockey. He comes from a family steeped in racing where I guess money isn't an issue, and he probably has very good dietitians around him who ensure that he's somehow keeping his health at a reasonable level that he can function. Whereas there's probably an awful lot of jockeys who come into the sport who don't have any of that sort of background or the availability of the expertise. They're just sort of winging it and doing massisse damage.
And a lot of them in the States are what they call flipping, like, which is literally like the bulimic exercise of making yourself vomit to get to eat and then vomit it out. And I don't think that's particularly common over here, but in the States it's very common. And what's interesting is that I think a lot more girls will end up being jockeys because the weights are going to get basically too low for Irish jockeys.
What's the argument against raising the weights slightly?
It's very strange because like Joseph O'Brien would completely advocate this, and he says, like, you know, we ride these horses out, work every day, like with more weight, like what's the big deal? But for whatever reason, I'm not 100% sure, but they can't get harmony of opinion on a pan-national basis. So the French will come back with something else. I think England and
what is it for the health of the horse? Is it that they don't
I genuinely don't know what their argument is. It would affect, I suppose, it would kind of, because you'd have a consistency of weights over the years, might affect the historical kind of, if you're trying to...
The weighting of history.
Yeah, and like horses, I suppose, what you know, horses' times in race and all that, if the jockeys' weights are going up, how can we have a kind of a, across the strands of time, can we look back and compare? But like, I genuinely don't know, but like, that's why in the States all the jockeys are basically Latin American, because Americans, like, I mean, America's obviously a big obesity problem, but Americans, not many of them are anywhere near small enough to be jockey. But I think in Ireland, by the time maybe 20 or 30 years, there'll be a lot more lady jockeys, because they'll just be able to do the weights.
All right, so that is Friday, offtheball.com/events if you want to come along. It's just in Drury Buildings right in Dublin city centre. We're going to take a quick break.
Join the conversation on Facebook and Twitter.
Discover Dyson hair care technology this weekend at Harvey Norman with the new Dyson Airwrap Styler. Curl, wave, smooth, dry, powerful, precise styling with no extreme heat. Helps protect your natural shine every time you style. And with Christmas just around the corner, give the gift of beautiful hair with the Dyson Supersonic Special Edition gift set, in-store or online. Visit us at Harvey Norman today and let the Dyson experts help you find the right Dyson hair care product for you.
Go! You should definitely call your ex at 4 a.m. Sure, she hasn't heard from you in ages.
I think you should tell your boss exactly what you think of her. She'll appreciate your honesty.
That boa constrictor would make a great family pet. The kids will love it.
Not all advice is created equal. At financialbroker.ie, we're the experts in professional, impartial financial advice. So for advice on life insurance, pensions and investments, and everything in between, find your local financial broker at financialbroker.ie.
Black Friday deals are now live at littlewoodsIreland.ie. There are thousands of discounts across fashion, electricals, homeware and more, with free delivery and free returns on all orders. Shop today at littlewoodsIreland.ie. Free returns are through Parcel Connect or Parcel Motel. Terms and conditions apply. See online for further details.
This week at Centra, we have great offers in store, like Centra Fresh Hour Sirloin Steak 500 gram, only €5. And our star offers until Sunday. 7-Up Free 18-can pack was €8.50, now €6. And Connoisseur Wine Range was €8, now €6 each. Centra, live every day. Enjoy, call sensibly.
For me, it was an easy decision. The cost savings of the fuel, the insurance and the car tax. That's the price of a holiday.
Visit the Hybrid Now event at your Toyota dealer. See the Toyota CHR, Ireland's best-selling self-charging hybrid car, and the limited edition 20th anniversary Yaris. Enjoy a trade-in booster of up to €3,000 and 3-year servicing as standard. The Hybrid Now event, November 8th to 30th. Toyota. Built for a better world. Terms and conditions apply.
At Blackrock Clinic, we offer direct access to our expert team of endoscopy specialists. So if you're concerned about a stomach or bowel issue, we can quickly find the cause and whether it's serious or not. With a referral from your GP, an appointment can be arranged within 24 hours. For access to a world-class endoscopy unit, think first. Think Blackrock Clinic. Blackrock Clinic, when your experience needs ours.
If you're thinking of buying a residential rental property, ICS Mortgages can provide an excellent range of flexible buy-to-let mortgages, including interest-only terms of up to 15 years. We'll also help you to refinance your existing portfolio and grow your property investments. Call 1890 427 427, visit icsmortgages.ie or contact your local mortgage broker. ICS Mortgages, the property investor's choice. Lending criteria, terms and conditions apply and are subject to change. The entire amount that you have borrowed will still be outstanding at the end of the interest-only period. Dilosk DAC, trading as Dilosk and ICS Mortgages, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The Hampers Sweets and Treats scratch card is back, and it's better than ever. Stuffed with over €2 million in instant cash prizes, including a €25,000 top prize, 150,000 boxes of Butler's chocolates, hundreds of shopping vouchers, and hampers now worth €500 each. Plus, you could win a chance to enter a weekly bonus draw with 5 guaranteed prizes of €1,000. Surprise yourself and pick up a Hampers Sweets and Treats scratch card from the National Lottery today. Play responsibly, play for fun.
Enjoy the taste of superior espressos, lattes and cappuccinos in the comfort of your own home with the DeLonghi bean-to-cup coffee machine. For more information, go online to powercity.ie or call in-store today.
On 106 to 108 FM and at newstalk.com. This is Newstalk.
Good afternoon, I'm Adrian Harman. The government's warned the judiciary it will take action on large compensation payouts if judges don't address the issue. Junior Minister Michael Darcy says a referendum could be held to allow the government to set upper limits on awards. Figures published this week show the average award for a whiplash injury is just under €20,000. Irish Independent personal finance editor Charlie Weston says cuts to payouts would lead to a reduced insurance premium.
So the government now is saying that there are plans to try and encourage the judiciary, the judges, to set their own guidelines so there's more consistency and maybe award levels can be recalibrated down. If that doesn't happen, if that doesn't work, the government is threatening to have a referendum so that judges' discretion to set personal injury awards will be removed. And any lowering of personal injury rewards should be reflected in lower insurance premiums.
Britain's International Trade Secretary insists all of the UK needs to be treated the same in any Brexit deal. It comes as uncertainty grows over the British Prime Minister's ability to persuade her cabinet colleagues to back an agreement. Theresa May's Transport Secretary Joe Johnson resigned yesterday in protest at the current plans. International Trade Secretary Liam Fox says the UK's position on the backstop is clear.
A deal will not be presented to us. A deal will be something that we would be part of. And of course the government has been preparing for no agreement should that be necessary, because we've always made it very clear that there are a number of things that we must have. On the contentious issue of the so-called backstop, we've made it very clear, for example, that the whole of the United Kingdom needs to be treated the same.
And Donald Trump's blaming deadly wildfires in California on the mismanagement of local forests. They've killed at least 9 people and forced more than 200,000 residents to flee their homes. And that's all for now. More in an hour.
News Talk Weather.
Thanks to Des Kelly Interiors. Supplying and fitting your new carpet or wood flooring in time for Christmas. DesKelly.ie.
A mix of cloud with scattered showers affecting mainly western and southern coastal counties. Cool with maximum temperatures of 8 to 11 degrees and mostly light to moderate south to southwest winds. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Football on Off the Ball.
In association with the faster than ever Boyle Sports app. Multiples made easy and personalised content on every sport. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
You're welcome back to Saturday's Off the Ball, 53106, the text number. We're live as well, as always, every Saturday afternoon on all our social channels. You can get us on youtube.com/off the ball, facebook.com/off the ball, or you can watch us on Periscope. So do get in touch. Dan and Johnny are here as always. Latest scores in the Premier League. Second halves just getting underway. Huddersfield 1, West Ham 0. Leicester and Burnley remain scoreless. Newcastle 2-1 up against Bournemouth, and Southampton lead Watford by 1-0. In the Championship, Swansea still 1-0 up away at Bolton. No goals between Derby and Aston Villa. Middlesbrough now 2-0 up at home against Wigan. Millwall 1-0 up away from home against Norwich. It's scoreless between Nottingham Forest and Stoke. Ipswich leading 2-1 away against Reading. It's Birmingham 2, Hull 0. No goals between Blackburn and Rotherham, and Preston are 1-0 up away against Bristol City. Callum Robinson with the goal for Preston on 35 minutes in that game. Sean Maguire starting up front for Preston as well, alongside Callum Robinson, and they are the only 2 Irish players in the starting team. Alan Brown is among the substitutes.
I see James McClean was picked by Stoke as well too, which was away to Forest. There was a bit of just discussion over what they might do.
But maybe the best thing for everybody was just to keep him.
Is it possibly a case that he just would be sort of left out on the sly, left on the bench and not used? But no, he's picked him from the start. So
I don't think James McClean would have enjoyed the 10 minutes pre-match at Twickenham today, where they had the greatest, giantest poppy I have ever seen taking up half the pitch. They had at least 10 minutes of a ceremony before the anthems.
It's absolutely ludicrous. So you go along to that game today between New Zealand and England. Why do I somehow become complicit in remembering the war dead? Do you know? 10 minutes. What does this have to do with New Zealand and England?
Yeah, there is an anniversary. There is an anniversary this weekend, so I don't find it as sort of annoying as the annual Poppy Frenzy. I can understand why they probably feel the need to do something, you know, because it's 100 years on from the end of the war. I can sort of can get that, but it is gone to a absolutely ridiculous level.
Well, there's an enormous...
It wasn't in our life. Like 25 years ago, I don't recall it being a big thing around this time of year.
It's so divisive in Northern Ireland as well. Like, so it's you go to Down Royal Racing, you see people wearing a poppy, and you're like, oh, I can identify straight away with you, or I can't. So it's like it's like going to a game in the States where, like, you know, they have to kneel for the anthem, and they have like the after 9/11, I think they put the flag on the back of the helmets and all this.
They routinely bring out people before the game, or
well, that's different. So what happens in the NFL is different, because the US military pay the NFL to do that.
Yeah, they actually do.
It's a commercial deal.
Yeah.
The military are sponsoring the NFL essentially to let them have a military presence before the games.
Like, does everyone in Britain who goes on TV and wears a poppy, does he or she know exactly what that stands for? Like, and
I'm sure they don't. But also, everybody who goes on TV, if you're a newsreader or whatever, they also know what life is going to be like for them in England if they don't wear the poppy.
And that's the dictatorship of. That is a dictatorship in the sense of it's just far too awkward for me not to wear this. So, like, you're actually forced to wear it, even though, like, you may have nothing to do with it whatsoever. Like, what does that have to do with us in this day and age? Like, obviously they fought for freedom, you know, so to speak. So,
well, as Dan said, 100 years on, a lot of people do want to remember.
There is an anniversary as such, but I mean, next year it'll be 101 years, and it'll still be the same thing.
It's getting, if anything, bigger.
Oh, it is.
And the pressure that's, say, on the RFU today is.
It's an interesting one to say.
How can we make it?
Who can do the biggest show? And there's an element of like what it does is it ends up somehow ending up demeaning the significance of the symbol. You know, that it's actually just become, this is a conformist thing, that this is what you have to do. And if you don't do this, the mob will come and get you. Where, of course, you know, in theory, you're meant to be fighting for freedom and the freedom of choice and the freedom of expression. Where actually now that's become way more limited in recent years, where someone who thinks a small bit differently is actually like a maverick type figure with no respect, and how dare they earn their sterling here when they won't wear our symbols, you know? It's literally, I mean, it's insane stuff.
One of the best lines ever in The Simpsons, where, like, Lenny's in the crowd, like Carl and Lenny obviously, and Lenny's in the crowd, and there's some sort of I think some lad boos the national anthem or something, and Lenny goes, "Hey, show some respect. My dad died fighting some war." You're just like, exactly. Like, people, I'd like to know what Kevin Kilbane, like, if Kevin Kilbane were on the BBC, is he compelled presumably to wear a poppy?
Well, it's funny you should ask such a question,
because who's on the? I genuinely didn't know this.
What a setup!
Dear listener, I didn't know
Kevin's
this.
on the line going, Jesus, that's the last thing I want to talk about. Come in, Kevin.
What are we talking about here, lads? Jesus, come on.
I should point out, I'm fairly sure, I could be wrong, that Kevin is in Westport, possibly in a pub right now. This may not be the
possibly wearing a poppy,
having a conversation.
Hardly wearing a poppy, you know that. But anyway, I'm in Westport, yeah, I am in a pub, yeah.
Well, there we go.
Is that another Mayo gathering, Nathan? Is this like another Mayo event?
Exactly. We've events all the time to celebrate our...
Why did you bring Kev to the Mayo event?
I hear Kev was...
Why did you bring McIntyre? McIntyre was a sub.
Kev is top of the list. Yeah. Kev was top of the list to come, but he was working for the BBC, I think. So, you know...
Haringey gets AFC Wimbledon, Nathan. You know that. So
he turned his back on the people of Mayo yesterday, and it was noticed.
Yeah.
He's not wearing a poppy in the image we have there. He's definitely not in Westport in that image either.
He's on his way into Pro Park there with the sunglasses on. Wow.
Kev probably can't see this, but it's his Top Gun moment.
So you didn't do Sea to Summit, Kev, did you?
No, I couldn't do. No, I mean, honestly, I've just been rounded about tonight. Honestly, I mean, anyone that's ever done Sea to Summit, you've never been over, Nathan. I'm trying to get you over to do it. I'll try and get Johnny and Dan to come over at some stage to do it, but it's the best weekend you can ever imagine over here, because there's so many people that come in from, obviously, within the town, within the county of Mayo itself, but from out of town, out of the county. It's just a great weekend, and tonight's going to be great crack here tonight. But we're over here, obviously we're raising money for the Down Syndrome Centre and for the John Giles Foundation as well. So I was late. I couldn't do it today because I was in from Stansted this morning at 9 o'clock, and it's just an incredible weekend. The feeling in the town itself here at the moment, it's just great, and I think you'd love it. So hopefully one year, Nathan, I'm desperate to get you to do it more than ever, because there's an outcry in Mayo to get Nathan Murphy over to do it. Meet your people, Nathan. That's all I'm saying. It's not about being in Dublin now come out back to Mayo and come and meet your people.
Well, you met
That's
them
what it's
yesterday.
about.
In fairness.
I met many of them yesterday.
The selected crowd, the rich people. That's what he met yesterday. I'm talking about the real people. No.
Yeah, you might make the top 95 people that are calling out next year. Nathan.
Yeah. There'll be some proper football talk in Westport tonight. Then Kevin Kilbane and John Giles are in town.
Yeah, Giles is in town as well. Yeah, Giles, he's just gone back to have a bit of a rest at the moment, so he'll be back out soon. So, yeah, he's Giles. He loves it, and you know what as well. The best thing about Johnny is that he comes over, and every single year he loves coming over to Westport, and he's unbelievable with people. How he addresses them, how he conducts them. He's an incredible guy, and it's all about, of course, raising the profile of his own foundation, but the work he does behind it, it is great. It's great to see him in action. That's what I would say. Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe next year.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Please, Nathan. Please come over and just do it one year. That's what I want.
He is begging.
Westport's a great town, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, fantastic.
And it'll help the physical condition as well.
Yeah, thank you, Kev. Not right now. Not right now. I'm not. I can assure you. So Manchester Derby tomorrow. You were saying, Dan, that there's a interesting article on Alexis Sanchez.
Oh, Alexis Sanchez, yeah, this is in the Times, the London Times today, discussing lonely, ignored and bored, or words to that effect, where the phrase is used, that Alexis Sanchez is deeply unhappy at Manchester United. Now, I guess that's probably no surprise from his performances that you would think things aren't right, but I think it was Paul Hurst, who went into it in a bit more detail, said that behind the scenes, his sort of his body language, his mannerisms, his sort of day-to-day approach is suggesting to people that he's deeply unhappy. Apparently Mourinho was sort of a small bit mystified, can't figure out what's going wrong really, and the upshot of it is that apparently Sanchez's representatives have started to make
where does he go?
They've started to make inquiries about PSG, suggesting that he liked the city life in London. Apparently he had a couple of properties there, and he liked to be in the centre of the action. And apparently he's in Wilmslow, which is out some of the outskirts of Manchester.
That is a depressing spot, Kev.
I think I've been there before.
It's not depressing, but I tell you what, if I got him down to the station, my lord, he wouldn't know what's hit him. And I tell you, he'd have a great time.
This is a cry for help. Kilbane launches unusual. I know how he can turn his career around. Yeah, get him down the station. He lives there in leafy Cheshire with his fixer Mauro, who he met during his time at Udinese, and his two dogs, Atom and Humber, who are so famous they have their own Instagram account. I haven't heard of the dogs before now, I have to say. Okay. But he was involved in like the Chilean Posh and Beck's relationship with some sort of well-known celebrity from his homeland. They broke up a couple of months ago. Apparently he's been very down in the dumps since then, and even he doesn't seem to be that friendly with the other players. He's a reasonable relationship with De Gea, Mata and Lukaku, but rarely speaks to other teammates, according to the story. And there's even a detail here, it's from the United We Stand fanzine, that I think at one point he'd even complained to the staff there that his legs were getting cold because there was a fridge next to his spot in the changing room. Like, it just sort of paints this really bizarre picture of Sanchez being completely disenchanted. And the context of the piece was that Man City obviously missed out on Sanchez when he made the move, and I think privately City officials now are thinking they've dodged a bullet here big time, and United, and also reference to the fact that he's not enamoured by Mourinho's tactics and training and his way of doing things, but they have a 350 grand a week player there who's just basically turned into an average player.
Yeah, 350 grand a week basic as well. By the time you add in appearance fees, image rights, it feels like it's heading close to $500,000 a week. Like, this is going to go down in 10 years' time, Kev, as one of the worst signings in Manchester United history. Not just because of his performances so far, because of, I guess, the destabilising effect it has on everybody else in that dressing room when he's on such a massive salary.
Yeah, of course it is. And we said that when he signed, didn't we? We said that, nearly a year ago now, when he signed, the effect it's going to have on that dressing room, because other players know when a player comes in, they know full well he's on 3, 4, 5, whatever it is, times your salary, that they want a piece of that. They want a piece of the action. That's the way it is. Man United can afford it. It's not a problem for them. And it does cause problems throughout. It has I'll get the word out, reverberations throughout you. So, but it does, though. It's crazy. It's crazy, really, when they sign a player like that, and now all of a sudden, 6 months or 8 months down the line, that you're not going to have problems off it if he's not performing. And you knew full well what was going to happen, clearly what was going to happen. Then Paul Pogba as the record signing at Man United, he was going to go in and say, look, I want double my money. That's what I want now. Marcus Rashford renegotiating his contract now, or whoever it would be, they want to be on. They want parity with him. And if you're not performing as a player, then you're not necessarily performing to the level that you should be. It has a knock-on effect throughout the club. So, yeah, it was always going to be that way. That's the way I felt when he signed.
Kev, I think we'll let you go. You're in Westport. You're having a good time. Go back to your people.
All right, yeah, I will. So you're kicking me off there? Is that what it is then?
You didn't get very long. Didn't address the Poppy situation either.
Well, here, on the Poppy situation, let's hear from The Guardian's David Conn. He was on with Joe during the week talking about James McClean's decision not to wear a poppy on his jersey.
To be honest, I just find it very depressing. And I don't mean I find it depressing that James McClean and Nemanja Matic have chosen not to wear a poppy. That is completely their own right to do that. And you know, wearing a poppy, you know, we were always taught is a fragile reminder of peace because it's the flowers that grew on the muddy, awful battlefields of the First World War. Mm-hmm. And, you know, gradually in this country it started to become some kind of compulsory moment where you're almost a traitor to some people if you don't wear one. And I'm afraid that the FA themselves have encouraged this by, you know, going to such a conflict with FIFA about it and insisting that there had to be poppies, you know, they had to have the right to wear poppies on the shirts. And FIFA's point was that this is, it's a political symbol. And they had a huge argument that it isn't a political symbol. But it starts to look very political, doesn't it, when someone like James McClean says he doesn't want to wear a poppy and gets maybe not a load of abuse. I don't know how much it is, but he certainly gets some abuse. And, you know, abusing someone for not wearing a poppy, that in itself is just not in the spirit of what it's supposed to be about. And, you know, I don't know whether you and your your listeners and viewers understand where we've got to in this country over the poppy, but it is starting to become something that's almost compulsory at this time of year.
Yeah, that was David Conn of The Guardian on with Joe earlier in the week, Kev. I guess people often ask why other Irish players wear the poppy. I guess because they just think it's not worth the hassle.
Yeah, I mean, I've said to you on many occasions, I think I remember speaking to Keith about it a few weeks ago. When I was a kid, my earliest memory as a kid in relation to a poppy was my brother coming home from school. I was probably about 3 or 4, I think it would have been. My brother would have been 5 or 6 at the time, whatever it was. He came home from school with a poppy, and I remember my mum having a right go at him, basically saying, "Never wear a poppy. Never ever bring a poppy home to this. Bring a poppy home. You're not allowed to wear it again." And that was something that always stuck with me as a kid growing up when I was a kid, because basically through the schools over in England, when you were going through the system, it was you put your whatever it was, 10, 20p at the time, probably whatever it was, put it into the pot. You get your poppy. Everyone in the school would have wore a poppy, and that's gradually increased over the years. So when I first went into the game, I started playing when I was 16 or 18, wherever it was, when I first turned pro. The poppy wasn't necessarily on the shirt at that time, but when it then started to go onto the shirts, it was more the fact, look, you wear it or basically we'll dig you out. Basically, we'll call you out on that. And it was never something that I really thought about, to be honest with you, because I just thought, well, look, I'm part of the system over there. I've got to respect the league I play in, so I'll wear it. Not a bother, not an issue. As a kid growing up, I never would have wore a poppy. I never would have bought a poppy. I never would have contributed to the Legion Fund or whatever it would have been that would have been taking the money at that time. But I think it's a difficult situation. I think for Ireland players, when you're going over, it's more hassle, as James McClean's probably has found as well, not to wear it. James has got his own belief, which I'd stand behind fully. I'd be with him 100% on it with his issues that he has with it. But it's difficult, I think, for a player then to turn around and say, no, I'm not going to wear it, because you get called out, and all of a sudden then you start to get discriminated against in different ways.
Like you're commemorating people who fought in a war, right? So what does that mean to you? Like you're commemorating people who fought in a war. A lot of them fought in a war because there was no employment at the time, and they went out and they gave their lives. You're commemorating people who killed other people in war fields, who were just doing the exact same thing, possibly because of conscription. And then 100 years later, or whatever it is, You're giving money to the British Legion by buying a poppy for something that has absolutely nothing to do with you, and you may not have agreed with, but you're pretty much compelled to do it. It's like you can leave at any time, but why are you going? You know what I mean? I just find it quite. It's pervasive, and it's not far removed from the days where kids, you know, back in Germany in the day, you were a kid, like, you had to be part of the Hitlerjugend, and if you weren't, you were reported. So it's like, you're not compelled to do it, but basically if you're not, you're going to stand out, like. And obviously that's a fairly crude comparison, but why should I have to wear, like, why should I have to wear a poppy if I'm on the BBC tomorrow, Kev?
No, it's true. I'm on the BBC tomorrow as well, and we'll see tomorrow. You can probably view me tomorrow, and you can make your own judgment from that as well. But I think in general, though, why do the FA then force it upon their own national team to wear it? Because it then creates a storm, because it is political, no matter what we all say. And FIFA have made a stance against so many different nations over the years that have had problems with other nations, and they've protested and they've had violence at games. And they say political stances at games should never even come into it. So why should the English FA, or why should England be wearing a poppy at internationals that's going to cause friction further down the line? That's the way that I would see it.
Say, if you're on the BBC tomorrow, right, and I'm inferring from what you're saying that you're not going to wear a poppy, do you expect to be called on by a journalist to explain why?
No, not at all. It's your personal choice, isn't it? That's the way it is. That's the way it is now.
I'd be surprised if you weren't.
Would you?
I would be surprised if he's not wearing a poppy tomorrow, and I would think that if he doesn't, that life will be difficult for...
You think he will?
I think it's up to Kevin whether he wants to wear it or not.
I don't think we can sort of predict.
He is right here at the phone.
On the line.
But I think that to say he would be called out, he would most definitely be called out. There would be many complaints to the BBC.
Absolutely.
And it would probably be difficult to go back on the BBC for the next month.
Yeah.
In fact, you may not be asked back on the BBC.
Because Kevin should be commemorating the war dead from World War I.
You think it would be that strong?
I would think if you're not seen by Sky News reporters, and quite often it seems by accident, forgot to put their poppy on. The level of abuse they get online because of it.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? It's daft. It's daft. That's the way it is, isn't it? That people are seeing things that aren't necessarily there to be seen. That's the way it is.
Yeah, we're all tuning in. What's the game, Kev?
Why don't more people in the Republic wear a poppy? Like, it's so rare down here. Like, and why is it one extreme to the other? Then when you go to
people who wear pins in Ireland, there are people. Who wear pins,
honestly, lads, do you know what? As well, what I found out in the last, I've only found out in the last 3 or 4 months. Right, a great uncle of mine, so it was my dad's uncle. He actually moved to Preston. He died in Preston when I was about 10 years of age. He joined the British Army, which would have been frowned upon back in Ackle at the time as well. He joined the British Army. He was then captured, and he was in a Japanese concentration camp for about 3 years, I think, 3 or 4 years, presumed dead. There was masses held back from him in Ackle. Generally, it's an amazing story. There was masses held back from him in Ackle, presumed dead. 4 years later, he then turned up at a cousin of his house over in London. Then he was found, obviously, and the story. We still can't fit in. I was over in Ackle a couple of weeks ago speaking to family over there about it and how we can actually find out the history of my Uncle Paul and what happened to him. But he was basically captured and put in a concentration camp in Japan for 4 years around World War II. And so I've got family members that have served in the war as part of the British Army, and it's still conflicting to me to wearing poppies. That's the way that I would see it.
That is mad.
You need to go on Who Do You Think You Are?
Yeah. No, Nate, honestly, the story is incredible. It really is, and I'd love to know the story behind my Uncle Paul and how he was captured and why he was captured and why he joined the army and things like this. But the story is amazing. But speaking to my cousins over the last few weeks, and hopefully we'll be able to get some sort of information further down the line on it. Sure. Yeah.
Who's the actor from Boyle, the famous?
Chris O'Dowd.
Chris O'Dowd was. I remember a few years ago. And this was definitely a parallels for me, and I think most of my mates at home was like, Chris, did you ever think of going on Who Do You Think You Are? And he's like, yeah, looked into it kind of briefly, and then it went back about like 6 generations, and basically he was from there and she was from 3 miles down the road. And it's been like that ever since. It's like, I'm the exact same thing.
There's nothing exciting there.
Possibly ended up in Cambodia.
Yeah, so I think most people agree. The problem is the compulsion that you have. If people choose,
I respect your right 100%.
To be clear, I mean, the poppy means something to people. I think it's the choice to wear it is not an issue at all. It's just the compulsory wearing is. It's the mob chasing you around to say care. Yeah. Why don't you care? You know?
Yeah, I know.
What game are you at tomorrow, Kev?
I'm doing no game, mate. I'm in the studio tomorrow, so I'm covering all the BBC games tomorrow. So Chorley, Doncaster, all the games tomorrow that
Chorley, Doncaster.
Yeah, we're expecting a cup shock tomorrow. I'm doing the FA Cup tomorrow.
What time are you actually on air? Because I'm at a christening tomorrow, but I might bring like a portable TV or watch it just to see if Poppygate can be solved. The priest will be like, whoa, hang on. He's about to wet the baby. He's like, hang on. Kev is on.
Wait a second. Will you be in Galway? Will you be in Galway?
He's not wearing a poppy.
I will be in Galway.
Yeah, you won't get the BBC in Galway. We know that.
Bloody hell, Kev.
Wow. He's been in Westport too long.
He has. That's a bit harsh, but no, I'm looking forward to Chorley and Doncaster.
Yes.
No, we're doing everything. So it's all the games. It's all tomorrow's games. We're covering all the games tomorrow, and they're on the red button over in England, over in Britain. So you'll get them on the red button watching all the.
It's something red I'll be looking out for, but it's not the red button.
There's no red button in Galway anyway. That's for sure.
Exactly.
It was just a red button on my suit. No.
Yeah. So Johnny won't be able to see it, and then the highlight show tomorrow night, and then I'll be back into Dublin tomorrow evening. Yeah.
There you go. There's Kev's next 24 hours. Yeah. What happens between him getting on the plane back to England between now and then is probably what's more interesting.
Do you know what? That's a worry for. What time are we at now? Where are we now? 3:30.
You're in Westport.
Half four, Kev.
Half four.
I can safely say your BBC career will be in jeopardy very soon.
All right, we will let you go, Kev. We got to go, dads. Enjoy Westport.
Right, come on, Mail for Sam. Go on, all the best, lad.
He's had a few pints, obviously. Was there genuinely belief at that Mayo gathering yesterday that Sam is achievable?
I'd say that's the most cliche discussion they have at the game.
There were several of the Mayo players there, so obviously nobody's going to turn around and go, no.
So any surviving members of the last, as in people who remember it there, no?
I'm sure there were. It's 67 years ago, so be people in their mid-80s who'd remember it fairly handily.
The curse.
It's fine, but don't want to get into it. I don't want to get into it right now. The latest scores in the Premier League. Crying.
Feels like a lifetime
there's been no
ago.
goals in the second half so far in any of the four.
Luckily
Premier
for
League
our
games.
listeners.
Huddersfield 1, West Ham 0. I'm just saying that because I don't want to admit there's been a whole host of goals while we were just chatting shite to Kev down in Westport. Yeah, I think he just rang in to say, can I come on for a few minutes? Didn't even ask him. Leicester 0, Burnley 0.
Accidental dial, actually.
Newcastle 2, Bournemouth 1, and Southampton 1, Watford 0. Cardiff beat Brighton 2-1 in the early game. New Zealand have come from 15-0 down to lead England by 16 points to 15. A drop goal by Bowden Barrett. His first ever drop goal.
71 caps. Keane Tracy, our esteemed journalistic colleague, put that up. I'm obviously not a big... I was saying to you, I remember Zinzan Brook scoring a drop goal as a number 8, and the fact that Barrett hasn't scored, you're just saying it's not part of their game to take drop goals.
Well, he got absolutely slated during the summer because they lost to South Africa by 2 points.
And he went for one and missed?
No, he didn't.
Oh, okay.
So, and they were in position for about 3 or 4 minutes, and he just never stepped up to the plate.
So, like, how many sort of games would it take for Sexton to go for a drop goal? Would it be nearly one a game, nearly one every 2 games?
No, I wouldn't say he'd have won a game, maybe one every 3 games.
Would you imagine, like...
I'm sure one of our listeners will give us the exact stat.
You'd imagine it in a particularly tight game where a try is very difficult to kind of imagine.
There's really nothing happening in the Premier League today, is there?
I
shut Johnny up.
I'm like Dan.
No tangent.
I'm not overly interested, but I find that stat astounding.
Because you go to a broadcasting school or something, I'm sure, and they'd say, it's good to get your guests talking. There should be a part for getting your guests to shut up so you can just get to an ad break.
Looking for the mute on the mic here.
Everyone else is looking for it too, John.
Yeah, mute on their car radio. We're going to take a quick break.
Football on Off the Ball.
In association with the faster than ever Boyle Sports app. Multiples made easy and personalised content on every sport. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
News Talk and UCD Michael Smurfit Graduate Business School are offering you a chance to win an MBA scholarship worth up to €34,500. If you're ready to take the next step in your career, simply go to newstalk.com/Smurfit for details on how you could be one step closer to joining one of the world's leading MBA courses. Win your MBA scholarship with News Talk, thanks to UCD Michael Smurfit Graduate Business School. Business imagined better together. See newstalk.com/smurfit.
Want the prepay phone that's perfect for you? Then a pre-Black Friday sale is just what you need. Only Carphone Warehouse brings you an amazing range of prepay phones, like our best-selling handsets from Samsung and Huawei, at prices that are up to €30 less than the network stores. Get Black Friday prices now and expert advice from the home of the networks, with exclusive offers that only Carphone Warehouse can deliver. Any network, any phone, any plan. Only Carphone Warehouse. T's and C's apply.
I'm Alex Dunn from Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders. I have just returned from Yemen, where conflict has torn the country apart. It's also decimated the health system, leaving many in urgent need of care. MSF is treating the wounded and fighting disease on both sides of the front line. But we need your help. Please make an urgent donation today. Free phone 1-800-905-509. That's 1-800-905-509. Or visit msf.ie. Thank you.
You've got a good career, so how about transforming it into an exceptional one? One distinguished by change, leadership and success. An MBA from UCD Smurfit School can be the first step. Come along to our MBA Experience Day on Saturday the 17th of November from 9 a.m. The event will feature an MBA taste lecture, an MBA careers panel discussion and the opportunity to meet with current students and alumni. Register at smurfitschool.ie/events. UCD Michael Smurfit Graduate Business School. Business imagined better together.
Black Friday deals are now live at littlewoodsIreland.ie. Shop thousands of amazing deals today and choose to spread the cost with a flexible account. Shop Direct Ireland Limited, trading as Little Woods Ireland, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Lending criteria, terms and conditions apply. See online for further details.
Hi, I'm Eugene Scally, SuperValue store owner. All things considered, SuperValue is the only place you need to shop this week, with offers like SuperValue Fresh Irish Leg of Lamb half price, Oreo Gifting Tin half price, and Santa Rita 120 wine range €8 each. In store, on mobile or at supervalue.ie. All things considered, it's SuperValue. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
So, this new Citroen features the PureTech petrol. What?
It's so quiet. So refined.
Yeah, Citroen's PureTech engine has won International Engine of the Year in its class for 4 years in a row.
Wow.
Why are we whispering?
I don't know.
The Citroen PureTech petrol range. You'll be quietly impressed. See all the 191 cars and deals at Citroen's newest dealership, Linders Citroen, Finglas.
Citroen.
T's and C's apply.
We are on the brink of liberty.
From McClean director McClean.
Now is the time for action. Now!
A defining moment for our times.
Are you as angry as I am? I am hungry.
Peterloo is phenomenal. A masterful epic. 5 stars.
Never lose hope.
Peterloo in cinemas now.
The wait is over. The shopping event of the year is here. Get Black Friday discounts today at Harvey Norman. Up to 55% off Irish-made mattresses, an incredible 60% off bedroom furniture, and bedroom storage solutions from just €15. And at Harvey Norman, we have the best prices guaranteed. So no need to shop around. Now's the time to buy, in store or online. The Harvey Norman Black Friday sale.
Football on Off the Ball.
In association with the faster-than-ever Boyle Sports app. Multiples made easy and personalised content on every sport. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
You're welcome back. Nathan, Dan and Johnny in studio this Saturday afternoon. New Zealand 16, England 15 with 13 minutes left at Twickenham. We will try and keep it together for the rest of the show. And
what did we even talk about for the last 15 minutes?
I don't know.
I've no
we
idea.
just weren't expecting Kilbane to suddenly appear, and suddenly he's in the midst of a political storm now where half of Ireland is tuning in to
Kilbane was
FA Cup first round focus tomorrow on the BBC to see if he's going to stand up for his country.
He was returning a call from 3 days ago and ended up on air with Johnny trying to put him in a situation that could get him in a lot of trouble.
I just hope when he arrived in Knock, like, there was somebody there, like, kind of holding a banner up, Kevin Kilbane written across it, to collect him and bring him to Westport, like, you know. I just have that image in my head. Whoever Kevin Kilbane is, I'm here to bring you to Westport this morning. Like, it's a gag that you should do at least small provincial airports, I think, like, you know, because it doesn't.
Just move on, Nathan.
Bloody hell.
I'm not having him having a pop at Knock Airport. How dare you?
I don't know.
Well, lads, Chris from Cavan here. I'm in Westport just after running Sea to Summit. Well done, Chris. Happy to head down and see if Kilbane just took the poppy off for the chat. Just let me know and I'll go. Cheers.
You'll find him.
Yeah, you won't have to look.
You'll
too
see
far.
him before.
I don't think anyone has answered in with the correct answer to who that Northern commentator was. I think he may have played for Armagh. If that's a clue, does anyone remember?
What? So we're talking mid-80s?
It would have been probably early 90s as well. He would have done the commentaries. And do you remember when they had the Sunday game? And then they had, that's who somebody said. I don't think it was him though.
Okay.
So if somebody has another answer, they used to have the game on Monday then as well.
This is like a game I would have with one of my children where I don't know the right. You're like, nobody's texting with the right answer. I don't know what the right answer is.
But that's
like someone sets a really good trivia question, but they actually don't know what.
They don't even know what the answer is. Yeah. There's been another goal at Huddersfield, West Ham. Lee Stott.
It's Huddersfield Town 1, West Ham United 1, and after a goal-mouth scramble, Felipe Anderson fired home from about 18 yards. The right-hand top corner of Jonas Losel's net to equalise for the Londoners. They've been much better in this second half. They have had opportunities, so maybe it's been coming. Huddersfield Town 1, West Ham United 1.
Let's go to the King Power, where it is Leicester against Burnley and Derek Clark.
Leicester City 0, Burnley 0 as we enter the closing stages of this one. It's all suddenly got a bit scrappy here. Burnley with a half chance, you'd have to say. Just a few minutes ago it was Chris Wood. The ball played into the box and the New Zealander hit it on a half volley, but it went over Kasper Schmeichel's bar. Burnley meanwhile have made a change. Ashley Barnes has come on for Sam Vokes, but it remains Leicester City 0, Burnley 0.
There's been a goal at St Mary's. It is Southampton against Watford. Andrew Cheal.
Southampton 1, Watford 1. A touch of luck about the equaliser. Holebas's shot from 18 yards took a deflection on its way past the goalkeeper, and that was absolutely critical. That said, Watford very definitely do deserve the equaliser for the way they've played throughout this game. Goal in the first half from Gabbiadini for Southampton. Now it's Holebas for Watford. Southampton 1, Watford 1.
Newcastle still lead Bournemouth 2-1 in the game at St James's Park. There's around 12 minutes left in that game. There's only around 5-6 minutes left in the rest of the 3 o'clock kickoffs. Earlier, Cardiff picked up their second win of the season, a 2-1 victory against Brighton. The late game is Crystal Palace against Spurs at Selhurst Park. Graham Miller is going to be at this one. Evening, Graham.
Nathan, how are you?
Very well. Interesting team news we're hearing.
Absolutely, a bit of surprise. Palace, they make one change. Jordan Ayew comes in. So who does he come in for? None other than Wilfried Zaha. Now, no mention of any injury to Zaha during the week, during training, anything like that. I was talking to a reporter who was at the press conference on Thursday. It certainly didn't come up in conversation. So a bit of a surprise. We don't know why Zaha is missing. As for Spurs, it's their 5th game, I should say, in 13 days. They make 2 changes. Dele Alli starts. Now, he played midweek, didn't he, against PSV after coming back from injury, so he's been declared fit enough to start today. And Victor Wanyama starts as well. They come in for Winks and the injured Dembele, who'll be out for a while.
Yeah, Palace have produced some good performances this season. They've been impressive at times. They're just not getting the results right now. They're only on 8 points after 11 games. As it stands, they're only being kept out of the relegation zone on goal difference. Like, even at home against Spurs, they probably feel they should be getting something out of this match.
Well, that's what they've been saying all season, haven't they? Roy Hodgson says they're playing well. He was very impressed with the 2-2 draw against Arsenal, and he's saying they need to take that attitude, that resilience into all of their games. And remember, they lost 3-1 to Chelsea last week, and he was speaking in the programme notes for this game, saying that he was very pleased with that performance as well. Well, performance is one thing, as we all know. Results and points are another. And look at the league table. Palace have yet to win at home this season, and their record against Tottenham, well, they've lost their last 6 matches against Spurs, so who knows what's going to happen, particularly when they're without their talisman Zaha.
All right, good stuff, Graham. Enjoy the match.
Thank you.
That is Palace against Spurs getting underway at 5:30. There's no team more reliant on one player than Palace are with Wilfried Zaha. I think it's the last 13 games he's missed. They haven't won any of them.
Stats are amazing, yeah. It is extraordinary.
Spurs without Harry Kane would nearly be the next thing after that in the Premier League.
Quite possibly in terms of influence. Obviously, Wilfried Zaha was strongly linked with a potential move to Spurs during the summer as well, but that's a huge blow for them.
He's
Jimmy
the second
Smith
most
from
fouls.
Armagh.
Jimmy Smith, that's it.
There you go.
Jimmy Smith.
Well done to all our texters, and there were quite a few who put you out of your misery.
I do appreciate that, and brings back fond memories. Is Zaha the second most fouled or most fouled player in the league?
Definitely a good chance he's the most fouled. I've covered Palace a few times in the last month or so, and he gets kicked up and down the pitch again and again and again.
Because he was moaning about it a few games in, but then you were like, well, actually, he has a fair point here.
Well, he wins a lot of penalties as well. Gets he's just so fast. It's impossible for anyone to.
Selhurst Park is a throwback to another era, really, isn't it?
Selhurst Park is
I enjoyed
number one ground to go and watch a.
Really, I've never been actually. I've been
so
most,
old.
I think I've been to most of the London grounds, but I've never been to Selhurst Park.
It's almost as you come up to Selhurst Park, you can see every time they've got promoted in the way the stadium is built. There's like a little extension every 10 years when they gain promotion and they get a few more quid. But it literally shakes when they're doing well. I was there the night they drew 3-3 with Liverpool, the night that basically cost Liverpool the title when Liverpool were 3-0 up.
Yeah. Well, that
Damien
didn't really
Delaney
cost them the title. They were
but
done
it
at
meant,
that stage.
well, there was a moment during that game where they were 3-0 up and they could have been 7 or 8-0 up. That they would have improved their goal difference to such an extent they would have still had a great chance of winning the league. But Damien Delaney got wasn't a long range effort to get them back into it. I've never been at a Premier League game with an atmosphere like it for the final 10 minutes. It's just proper old school. 21,000 in the ground.
You don't need many people there for an atmosphere. We're on about
you just want them tight. You want them
and
in close.
And they probably don't have a huge raft of like overseas tourist fans like it is.
Nathan.
These are the Palace fans. This is their
because I often thought that they were ripe for expansion because they are the biggest club in South London. They're the only South London club in Premier League right now. And I would have thought actually for a business looking at it, you would think, well, maybe there's an opportunity to get in, buy Palace, this huge supporter base. But people who live in London say, actually, no, nobody has. The people of South London don't generally get behind Palace or Charlton or Middle. They have their nice supportive bases. They still want to go to Chelsea and Arsenal and Spurs.
I'd say they're hardcore fans behind the goal there in the corner are like the best in the league. They're just every time you see Palace play, they're unbelievable. And they just create a proper atmosphere that you don't really get at English grounds.
Yeah, Goodison Park is the only other one that
Goodison Park
has it.
There's a sort
when
of
they're doing well.
feel to that.
And they're moving out of it, aren't they?
Yeah, eventually. But so are Palace, I think, eventually going to end up moving. If you get a chance to go to Selhurst Park, and it's probably not that difficult to get a ticket.
Still wooden seats.
No, I think give it a while, and every football ground in England will be suitably soulless. They'll all look the same.
They might bring in
like the World Cup and the European. You know, where the major tournament stadiums, it's all of the same.
It won't be allowed to be called Selhurst Park. It'll be just South London Stadium.
Sell out
arena.
Park.
The arena.
Maybe they'll bring in safe standing in some of the grounds. We were discussing this the other morning as well. Do you know where Kenny Cunningham's favourite away venue was that he played in terms of atmosphere? Tel Aviv. Which was interesting. For that. I thought it was going to be Tehran because he played in Tehran, but he was like, no, Tel Aviv.
Oh, a chance for England to beat the All Blacks. They go over in the corner and they have scored their third try and they lead New Zealand 20 points to 16 with 4 minutes remaining. What a story it's turning out to be at Twickenham. The All Blacks who come to Dublin next week, maybe coming here on the back of a defeat to Eddie Jones, all-conquering England. Guys are just unstoppable now.
Do you want New Zealand to kind of come back now, or are you like still the old I prefer England not to win type?
Oh, I don't know. You see, I want England to get as hyped up as possible before the Six Nations in the World Cup so that when they lose, it really stings.
Okay, so this is good, so.
They're going to the TMO. I'm not quite sure why, but we will update you on that. So England 20, New Zealand 16. 53106 is the text number. You can get in touch on any of our social channels as well. We didn't really get a chance to sort of round off the League of Ireland season. So we had the cup final last week.
Yeah.
Thought it was a really entertaining game.
Yeah, you were at the game, yeah.
I was at the game, yeah.
Johnny, you weren't
talking
at the game.
to each other.
No, I was.
Oh, on Irish football's biggest day, the man behind this thing didn't turn up.
Would you make it as a coach? You're just a bit too mad, are you?
You came on this show, Johnny, and said that Galway United were heading to the Champions League.
I didn't quite say that.
No, play the clip.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Well, it's your job. You're the football correspondent.
You're an enthusiast. You'd be more of an enthusiast than an expert, to be fair.
Someone's on about you, I thought.
No.
You didn't even turn up for the cup final between the two great teams of the last 4 years.
There's no blackmail like that of the emotional kind. So my sister, who had a sabbatical from Gaelic football, she was playing for St. Brendan's in the intermediate Connacht final in Clár Clonawarish, your neck of the woods, playing against Westport, the aforementioned, and she said, "You're coming to the game, right?" And there wasn't a question mark. So I kind of had to go because I thought if they lose this game, which they didn't, they gave a hockey into Westport. I thought I haven't seen her play in so long, that I can miss the cup final. And as we kind of alluded to as well, it wasn't the cup final that I was actually that disappointed to miss because I've become a little bit. It's become a bit samey, the two teams.
It was definitely the best of the four.
Well, the other three weren't good, like, so...
No, it was decent. I'm talking to people who were at the game who mightn't go regularly and they enjoyed it. You know, and I'm not. It wasn't saying it was a classic. It wasn't a classic.
Dundalk probably weren't at their best.
No, they were.
But that maybe made it a more enjoyable game.
Yeah, they made some errors, you know.
Oh, they've disallowed the try. They have disallowed the try. So New Zealand still lead.
Is that offside?
15. I think it may well have been offside.
Offside out of the...
It's a great discussion. People just don't know the rules at all. We don't know what happened.
He is offside there, isn't he?
Well, they have disallowed the try, so we're going to say...
So the team, you
yes.
can go back this far.
Yeah, they can. So England still trailing 16-15. There are 3.5 minutes left, and they're back deep inside their own half.
Yeah, but it was an okay game. Like it was like there was a sort of
it's going downhill by the second.
No, it was. I enjoyed it because they had storylines and had stuff to happen. There was there was chances and moments in the game, whereas some of the other finals, you know, you're struggling to sort of analyse afterwards, and you're reliant on the interviews and the quotes rather than the actual game itself. And the Dundalk did enough to win without being, say, as good as they can be. Cork actually played. Cork showed that actually when they really are at it, they can give Dundalk a really hard time and probably shouldn't have finished 10 points behind them in the league, but they did because they haven't had that sort of application for large parts of the season. So we're into pre-season, we're into this ludicrously long off-season.
Is this the end of the Dundalk-Cork rivalry then? Kieran Sadler was saying after the game he's going to be leaving, their wage bill is going to be cut substantially.
The end of the rivalry, I still don't think it is because, okay, Shamrock Rovers can come into it, but the worst the Cork can finish next season to be third. You know, so they're still going to be, when Cork play Dundalk, they're going to be involved in
I'm
matches.
not sure about that, Dan.
People said that this season is not going to be a two-horse race, and of course it was. Like it
wasn't even in the end.
Well, exactly, but I mean there was still a substantial difference between second and third.
I wouldn't guarantee Cork finishing the top three next season.
They 100% will.
You can't say that, Dan.
I'm saying it.
Pats are being taken over by Harry Kenny. There could be a.
I'm saying it.
Pats could potentially finish ahead of Cork.
I'm saying it. No,
you can't say 100%. That's stating a fact that is not fact. That's an opinion.
It's an opinion.
Yeah.
It's an opinion.
You're not. It's not 100%.
He's fairly sure in his opinion.
I'm sure in my opinion.
It's very likely.
But I think at the start of the season was like, no, they're not going to be the top two again, and of course they are. Like, they're in Europe every year. They have settled squads. Even though Cork are facing uncertainty, and that's why they're vulnerable. But still, I mean, they've gone around and signed a few players this week. And
funny enough, the team they actually started, they're probably not going to lose that many of them. I was looking at it. Sadly or definitely, but like McLaughlin and Griffin, they're more possible will leave, but not certain. Now they'll definitely need to change their goalkeeper situation thing, because even if Mark McNulty is still there, he needs to be challenged. I think Cherry will probably leave. But they have some young players, and he's already signed a couple this week, Caulfield, so he's straight in there. But I can't see them challenging next season anyway. I can't see them anywhere near Dundalk.
Stephen Kenny was as emotional as I've seen Stephen Kenny on the full-time whistle.
Yeah, I think he probably bore the brunt of the last two cup final defeats. I think there was a sense that they'd had those two trips from the Aviva in the aftermath of defeat. I think last year's one was particularly crushing. I think you made the point of 2016, they still had a couple of Europa League games left at the time, so maybe it didn't kill them as much, whereas last year it was like, this season has been a complete disaster. And I think they used that as motivation for their pre-season and to propel them into this year. And the challenge for them is, where do they go now? They've won a double, but it still feels like they're probably still evolving as a group here. You know, this group of players, and there's a younger core who I think they're a better side than they were last year. They dropped a load of silly points last year. This year they're the likes of Jamie McGrath, Sean Hoare, Michael Duffy, players have all been better this season than they were last season, and they've added Patrick Hubin into the mix as well. And these players are staying around. There's still a small question mark maybe over Robbie Benson, but but in terms of the rest of the first team players, Dane Massey, it seems like they should be okay. And the real push for them now is Europe and having a real proper crack at Europe next year. And I think they've managed to sort of refresh the team in such a way that they're actually reasonably young. You know, they are ready to have another go at Europe, and I think that's going to be an interesting sports story next summer how this Dundalk team gets on.
Yeah, and Stephen Kenny, again, all the talk of Ireland and potentially being the successor to Martin O'Neill if things were to go horribly wrong in our house on Monday week. Who knows? Maybe there's a change before the next qualifiers. There was also speculation that maybe he does actually go in and have some role with the under-21 side over the next couple of years. Are there any other whispers about where Stephen Kenny's future lies?
No, I think his future lies with them.
You don't think he'd go back to Scotland or?
No,
he's not going to go to Britain. Like,
no, I don't think so. I think for the first time, really, like he's so, not to phrase this in the wrong way, he's getting everything he wants, but he is getting, you know, players on a secure long-term contract, and they have the American ownership there who are ready, I think, to support him in terms of a proper go in Europe. And I think that's something that really motivates him, and that's what he wants to do again. So I think there's no chance from, like, the 21s thing just never going to happen. So the option for him would be, I think he'd probably be aware that the senior team, he's now in that discussion. He's in that discussion as a genuine candidate. And if it came up now, I don't think the timing would be great, you know, in the sense that
he'd have to take it though, wouldn't he?
Oh no, he'd never turn it down, I'm sure, if it came his way. But I think in a way, a year's time with another European campaign, I think that's the priority. I think he wants to have a go with the Peak Six, with this backing, when he's got all these players under contract. He's kept Duffy, he's got McElhenney back. I don't think he's going to be in any rush to leave unless that national team job come up.
Full-time whistles going around the Premier League grounds. We'll go to those in a moment, but they are past the 80 at Twickenham and they are still playing, and New Zealand have possession. They're going to kick it out of play and they are going to beat England. They lead 16-15 and the ball is kicked out. The game is over and the All Blacks have beaten England 16-15 and they will come to Dublin with a little bit of confidence and maybe a bit shaken up as well after being given a right old fright by that England side. So reaction to come. We're going to talk to Richie McCaw as well between now and 6 o'clock. Leicester Burnley, first full time in. Derek Clark.
Full time at an emotional King Power. It's finished Leicester 0, Burnley 0. The Foxes could consider themselves unlucky not to have taken all 3 points. So Jamie Vardy had a shot cleared off the line after Joe Hart fumbled across. Rashid Ghazal had a header that cannoned off the crossbar, while Damari Gray passed up a great opportunity, went through on goal, striking straight at Joe Hart. Burnley didn't offer a great deal, but they earn a point here. It's finished Leicester City 0, Burnley 0.
So first time this season, Leicester City have failed to score. Burnley, who have been conceding goals for fun, grateful of that clean sheet, no doubt. Next up to St Mary's, where it was Southampton against Watford, and Andrew Cheal.
Southampton 1, Watford 1. Manolo Gabbiadini made the most of shoddy Watford defending in the first half to put Saints ahead. In the first 45 minutes, dominated by the visitors. Watford had 3 good chances. Twice Deulofeu, for instance, was thwarted by the goalkeeper. It took the visitors till 10 minutes from time to equalise. A Holybas shot deflected off a defender and past the keeper. All in all, though, a draw, a fair result. Southampton 1, Watford 1.
I see Obafemi was an injury time substitute in that game, so he did get a run out for Nathan Redmond for the last 2 minutes.
All right, we shall find out Monday whether he's in the proper Ireland squad for the games, and we'll also hopefully find out later before the end of the show why Shane Long wasn't in the Southampton squad and whether or not there is an injury for Shane Long ahead of that Ireland game against Denmark and the friendly against Northern Ireland. That point for Southampton means that they are a point outside the relegation zone. They're still in 16th, just 8 points from their opening 12 games. Next up, we're going to go to Huddersfield against West Ham and Lee Stott.
Huddersfield 1, West Ham 1. The visitors earn a point after a much improved display in the second half, with Felipe Anderson's goal the end result of a goal-mouth scramble. Huddersfield could have been out of sight by half-time. They scored early through Alex Pritchard, and then they hit the frame of the goal via Steve Mounier and Philip Billing. A draw, that's not really a terrible result for them, but it won't get them out of the relegation places tonight. Full-time, Huddersfield Town 1, West Ham United 1.
Yeah, so Huddersfield are still inside the relegation zone, 7 points from their 12 games, and West Ham are in 13th on 12 points. It's just finished Newcastle 2, Bournemouth 1 in the last couple of moments, so a second consecutive win for Newcastle United. A huge victory for Rafa Benitez there. They took a 2-0 lead. Bournemouth scored just before half-time, but that a massive win for Newcastle, and we'll bring you the full time. We'll chat to our reporters very shortly on that. In the Championship, you were saying Conor Hourihane?
Conor Hourihane's, scored for Villa. Hourihane. Yeah, Villa 3-0 win away at Derby, which is actually a pretty good result for Villa and the new manager Dean Smith. But beyond that, not a huge amount. There's Norwich Millwall has just gone 4-3 in a pretty crazy game, and Birmingham Hull 3-3, and a few entertaining and high scoring games. But in terms of sort of Irish storylines, that goal and Callum Robinson's goal for Preston, they won at Bristol City.
Yeah, they are still playing in that game between Norwich and Millwall. What we'll do is we'll take a quick break and we'll run it down through all the scores in the Championship. Thanks as always, lads.
No hassle.
Thanks,
Talk to you next week, but that is us done for this hour. In the next hour, we're going to talk to all our reporters around the grounds in the Premier League. We'll run you through all the other scores as well, and we will be talking to All Blacks legend Richie McCaw.
Football on Off the Ball.
In association with the faster than ever Boyle Sports app. Multiples made easy and personalised content on every sport. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
Down to business.
We're back on the road with our brand new road